Hello. It is me, your trio phenom, SP3. We are live on the Sportskeeda Wrestling Facebook and Wrestle Binge by Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel for another edition. We are back live, baby, on a Friday night for Smack Talk. Of course, that means that I am here with the legend himself, manager, wrestler, creative mind, and the greatest mustache in not just professional wrestling history, but the history of mankind. It is Dutch Mantell.
Well, thank you very much. That's quite a compliment coming from you, Sid. But I was reading the other day the greatest mustaches in wrestling. You know, they would like Rick Rude. He had a good mustache, but it was like little. It wasn't immaculate. This is a work of art here. So that's why I think I should be in the at least number one. Only one guy I think that could have beat me was Ox Baker, because he had it coming down the hill and he had to look. But anyway, I think I did make the top 10, but I think it should make, by rights, I think it should be in the top 2. I don't think
I
it's
do
being
agree.
Anyway.
You know what will really make you in like the top 2 all time in the history of mankind?
What?
Wait for it. When you win the Sportskeeda Wrestling Award for the best mustache of 2022. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the second annual Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards is coming up, and you should vote for Dutch Mantell. A write-in vote, because I don't think they're taking tallies for this. So write-in vote, Dutch Mantell, the best mustache of 2022.
Yeah. Well, if they're not taking nominations on that, they're going to have to now, because I'm going to insist on it. The greatest mustache in wrestling. Who would you vote for male wrestler of the year? Hey, can you even separate males and females anymore?
I don't think so. I kind of put them all into one, but my male wrestler of the year for 2022 was Jon Moxley. I think I said this the last time we were here live. I just feel like every time AEW needed somebody to really step up, whether it's fill in for a world champion, whether it's after Brawl Out, whether they need to get ratings on a Friday night and impress Dutch Mantell so he doesn't fall asleep during Rampage, it's always been Jon Moxley who usually comes through. And you yourself, who started off, I remember last year, you were not very high on Jon Moxley. You have said much better things throughout the last 12 months about Jon Moxley because of the year he had in 2022.
Oh, he had a great year, but he would not be my male wrestler of the year. It can only be one guy, really. And I've already said this. It can only be Mr. Acknowledge Me, Mr. Roman Reigns is the only one it could be. And the one closest to him, and he hadn't even had time to display his talents, was Gunther. So, but that's who I'm going to vote for. Remember, fans,
there you go.
Wrestler of the mustache of the year belongs to me. Fill it in.
There we go. We're starting off the show with promos. Look at that.
If you're talking about Moxley, AEW could have used him tonight. Believe me.
Well, we're going to talk about both SmackDown and Rampage. We want everyone who's watching, thank you so much for joining us Friday night here on Smack Talk, whether it's on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. We would love for you to join us over on the Wrestle Binge by Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel. We're trying to raise those numbers up with live streams just like this. You can check out myself and Dutch talking about the Royal Rumble from last weekend. That's up on the channel right now. And of course, sound off in the live chat. Remember to drop the thumbs up on this video. Share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. And like I said, sound off in the live chat, but if you want your comment highlighted for sure, remember super chat donations are always welcome, and we always will highlight those in the on screen with us. We got Lisa here with us who says, howdy, Dutch. Sid, not Rick. Rick is not with us. He's hard at work at the radio station in Cincinnati. Or drinking, as Dutch says, and we are here We miss you, Rick. We miss you. We do. We do. Don't listen to Dutch. We got Stephen Chambers here with us saying SP3 and Dutch in the house. Yes, indeedy. We got Chris Aldridge saying good evening, SP3 and Dutch Mantell. First time seeing you guys in a long time because of the weather. It was really cold here. I hope you are bundled up. Hope you're warm and ready for Dutch to get some fire takes on SmackDown and Rampage. We also got Ozzy asking, of course, where's Rick, because he loves him some Rick. We got Joseph, who says Roman, Sammy, or Gunther for male wrestler of the year. So we got some choices there. Chris says it's between Gunther and Roman in WWE, and AEW Moxley and Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe had one hell of a week for somebody that WWE once said that he was done wrestling. He's been looking amazing over on AEW Dynamite. But we are not here to talk about AEW Dynamite. We're here to talk about Rampage. We'll get into that. But first up, we had SmackDown, and let's get into the big story on SmackDown, which was the follow-up from the Royal Rumble, that superb angle that ended the Royal Rumble with Sami Zayn turning on the Bloodline, hitting Roman Reigns with a steel chair, and then them destroying him with Jey Uso walking out on his family. We had Kayla Braxton outside to kick off the show, outside the arena, as the Bloodline arrived at the arena to start the show. We had Roman, Jimmy, Solo Sikoa, Paul Heyman, and Roman Reigns all coming out of the car, but no Jey Uso. Roman ignores Kayla Braxton's question about Jey Uso and walks by her. And then Paul Heyman says he can't believe such a warm-hearted person would ask such a cold question. And he says there is no update. They cannot confirm nor deny the status of Jey Uso with the Bloodline, but he does thank Kayla for wearing the colors of the Bloodline. And then this would start a narrative thread throughout the show that really connected this whole show and really was the kind of the whole base for this whole show, with Roman Reigns talking to the Bloodline throughout the night. Later on in the night, we get Roman Reigns. He's in the back with Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa, and he's asking Jimmy, where's your brother? Jimmy says that, he hasn't been able to talk to him. He's like, have you seen him? He's like, no, I haven't seen him. And Roman says, how can this happen? How can he be so irresponsible, so disrespectful to the family and not show up? You got a title defense next week. You think he's gonna have your back? Where's your brother? And then Jimmy kind of stands up to Roman and says, like I told you, I haven't seen him, I haven't heard from him. Roman asks Solo just no sells him, doesn't answer at all. And then Jimmy says, if I didn't hear from him, he ain't hear from him either. And then Roman sends them off to go look for Jay. They come back later in the show. Jimmy and Solo said they haven't been able to get in touch with Jay once again, and Roman's a little bit calmer. He actually apologizes to Jimmy.
He apologizes a lot.
He is apologizing a lot lately.
And treats him like crap, and then tells him he's sorry he did it. He's done it to he's done it to Sammy. He's done it to people, and he said, I shouldn't have done that. And he always apologizes. He's decent in that. But then it doesn't mean that he can't stick that knife in him again.
But it's very much like you said, a sorry, because he's trying to manipulate people. He's trying to gaslight them. He's trying to make them feel bad for talking back to him. Like, that's what it's all about.
And it works. He does. I think he's improved 200% since he started. Now, a lot of guys, he wasn't used to being a heel, and you have to work into that. And the fans didn't accept him right off the bat as a heel because they liked him. And I thought for a long time, man, I don't know if this is going to go. But remember, I always preach this one thing, patience. They had patience with him, and they've certainly had patience with him for the last 3 years, because I think this year the way they're going toward WrestleMania will be a record. I told you right before we went on the air, anybody that says Vince still has anything to do with creative, they can throw that in the trash this week. Because watching this show, how it was structured, how it was put together, you can tell Vince is nowhere around. Because every match on SmackDown was good. Every match. And good finishes. And they was working on the Sammy and Uso and We Are the One. They're working on that storyline Only ones we didn't see tonight that I thought we might see was Kevin Owens. But yet, just because we didn't see him this week, we got 51 more weeks to see him. But we'll see him before WrestleMania. And he and Sammy they'll be friends by then. And the whole village will be happy until whatever they do at WrestleMania. So I'm glad they're taking their time with it because they don't have to hurry anything up now. I mean, they took patience when they were down. Now, when they're up and running, they're just putting all their ducks in a row. And I think just the two top matches are the three top. We have a girls match in there somewhere. That's enough to sell out WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think they already are like hitting real big numbers. Of course, they're going to combine both days, but it's definitely going to be definitely because every pay-per-view they've done as of late has been the most watched in company history, thanks to being on Peacock. And I think this WrestleMania is probably going to be the most watched as well.
Oh, I believe that. What is the capacity of the LA? What's the name of that stadium?
SoFi Stadium. I will check for you now.
Beautiful stadium. And it will look great for WrestleMania for them guys to trot in there with a sold out crowd.
70,000 at SoFi.
But it looks bigger than that. I mean, just looking at it. But a beautiful piece of architecture. A beautiful stadium from the inside and the outside. A beautiful stadium. So I think they already got their blood and guts ready, and now they just add to that. I think we'll have a complete sellout. I think we have it both nights.
I don't know about that. The 2-night WrestleMania, I don't always see it. The second night always seems to struggle as far as sellout, but I will be pleasantly surprised when they do sell out both nights.
Well, when it sells out both nights, I want you to come on here and say, Dutch, and I want you to issue me a public apology.
I'm not going to apologize. I didn't say you were wrong.
Dude.
I didn't say you were wrong. I just said historically, the second night of WrestleMania does not sell out like the first night.
Yeah, they can always the first time.
And they can always lie about the number like they usually do.
No, I don't think they'll sell out both nights. But I think the nights with Sammy versus Cody versus Roman will sell out. And then whoever the Usos are against be Sammy and Kevin, I think, will sell out. Then add that other stuff in there. I think they will have Logan Paul there, and they have all the girls. I think it books itself basically.
Things are shaping up very well right now. To continue on with this whole bloodline saga that happened on this show. So, like I said, Roman, Jay, and Solo came back. They said that they couldn't get a hold of Jay. Paul Heyman before that said he had bad news for Roman, that Jay's phone just goes to voicemail. And Roman says he doesn't understand of all the times of the year for this to happen. Things were going so well. The bloodline was a well-oiled machine. He says he has a ton of stress. The burden of the position he holds is tremendous, and he's being pulled in different directions, but he tells Jimmy and Solo that he loves them. He apologizes for the way he spoke to them earlier, and he says Roman says he needs them. He needs the bloodline to be strong because they're not if they're not, all of this goes away, talking about the one. And then he says that the wise man has catering sent to their bus. They have sushi and steak. They eating good, Dutch. They eating good. He says, Jimmy, Solo, you should go eat. Roman will handle business in the ring. Again, he says he needs Jimmy and Solo, and Jimmy appreciates that. He tells the wise man he appreciates that, and he and Solo head out as Roman says he has to take care of business in the ring. So he comes out for his big moment in the ring to talk about the status of the bloodline. We get huge Sami chants from the crowd. They're ready to see Sami in Greenville, South Carolina. He says for Greenville to acknowledge him, and we get more Sami chants. Roman says he was gonna ask who the fans want to hear about, but he says it seems obvious who they want to hear about. He says he'd rather talk about Cody Rhodes because he's the guy who won the Royal Rumble, someone who deserves his attention, but the simple people want him to talk about about the past. So he'll talk about Sami, and he says the story goes back all the way to War Games at Survivor Series. Roman said to the whole world he saw everything he needed to see in Sami's eyes that night, and what he saw was greed. He said the same thing he always sees everyone around him wants from him. Everyone wants something from Roman. So he
He's
gave
being used.
Absolutely.
He's the victim.
This is the gaslighting. Yes, he's the victim. He gave Sami the opportunity of a lifetime, but all Sami did was use Roman, use the bloodline, use the island of relevancy. He said no different from anyone else. Everyone just wants to take from Roman, but before he can continue, Sami comes out of nowhere with an attack from behind. He has a hoodie on at first, but all the fans know who he is, and that eruption from the crowd as soon as they knew it was Sami attacking him, he goes after Roman. Roman gets control and overpowers him, but then he gets a steel chair from Paul Heyman. He goes to hit Sami, but Sami catches him with Roman's own spear. He hits Roman with the spear. Roman runs out before Sami can hit him with a steel chair, and Sami tells him he finally does want from Roman. He never wanted from him before, but he finally wants something. He wants to take what's most important from Roman, and that's the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. But before Sami can stand tall and finish his challenge, Jimmy and Solo attack from behind. They knew something was going to happen.
Absolutely. But he sent them to the bus to eat some sushi or eat whatever, and they disobeyed him and come back. But a good thing they did.
Exactly.
They saved him from Mr. Sami, and I rate Sami Zayn.
So it looks like Solo's about to give Sami the Umaga hip attack, but Roman stops him. And at this point, we hear the crowd. They're chanting for Jey Uso. They said, "We want Jey. We want Jey." Roman says to Sami, he said, you hear them calling for Jey? They want Jey. I don't have my right-hand man because of you. You broke up my family," Roman says. Roman says he gave Sami a chance to be his family, and Sami repaid him with betrayal. Well, Roman will give him what he wants. He said he wants to fight Sami in Montreal at Elimination Chamber, and he's repaying Sami for breaking up his family. He's going to break him in front of his family, all of Sami's friends, all of Sami's family, his wife, his kids. All of them get to witness Roman show what happens when you mess with the bloodline. And that's how we end the show. What a final segment. This was art once again, and Roman was tremendous. Roman hit this promo with no mic, just talking to Sami with the camera right there to get everything he was saying. It was excellent.
This is WWE like 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, because they're taking it slow, and they're listening. They're listening to every fan out there, because fans don't get up and yell for no reason. They were yelling for who were the Jimmy? They were yelling for Jimmy.
They were yelling for Sami first, and then they did the "We Want Jey" chants. Jey Uso.
And they will tell you what they want. I was expecting to see Kevin Owens in there, like I said a little earlier. Maybe a little too soon for him, but
yeah, he took the big beat down.
But look at how many avenues they got to go now. They got the Uso Avenue, the Kevin Owens Avenue. Now you mix Cody in there at some point, and this thing books itself to WrestleMania. And I would like, if I was in Canada, I would actually buy a ticket. No, I'd get a pass. But I would go to Montreal, and I would like to see Sami versus Roman straight up and just listen to that crowd. I haven't heard crowds like that since, I don't know, Puerto Rico. Even when I was there, you know, the crowds, they were good, but they weren't as vocal and as they are now. Because, and I've often said this, a lot of times when wrestlers go to the ring in an angle like this, and the people are really with it and moving with it, I mean, sometimes it can burst your eardrums. Didn't Cody say his eardrums burst from the blast? It can do that. One night in Puerto Rico, they were so loud, and I'm sure Cody would probably agree, they get so loud, he goes up, 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 and then boop, your ears automatically shut down. It will block it itself to keep from completely bursting. And that's what they did on me one night. And I went, And I've never had that before. And I asked a doctor about it. He said, well, that was your ears protecting you because it didn't know how loud it was going to get. But it's a drug. If they could market that and put it in a bottle, be the greatest seller of all time. It is a great feeling to hear that. And it's fleeting. And some wrestlers never hear it in their life. Not for them. They might hear it for other people. But it doesn't matter even if you hear it from somebody else, it's still you're appreciative that they've done work that the people enjoy, and the people are showing how much they enjoy it. But we need to market that and call it high, and we'll sell it for like $10 a bottle, and it's sell like a son of a gun. Then of course the government would ban it because they would say it's a damn hallucinogenic drug, but. Go back to what you're talking about. You get me off on another subject.
You go off the rails. You always do. I just let you go.
Well, that's what we used to do in the cars. Riding down the road, we'd be talking something, and then it jumped to something else, and then something else. And finally, you end up talking about the Constitution in 1780 and had nothing to do with wrestling or anything else you were talking about.
I love it. I love it every single time. So my question to you, Dutch, is does Jey Uso show up next week on SmackDown?
Interesting question. If he doesn't show up, that belt becomes a forfeit.
No, because they've already set the precedent on Raw 30 that they can probably put someone from the Bloodline as a replacement, like Sami stepped in for Jimmy on Raw 30. Maybe Solo can step in for Jimmy, as we are going to get a WWE Undisputed Tag Team Championship matchup next week. We did see the opening of the show after the Bloodline arrived was an opening contest of the Imperium, Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser versus Braun Strowman and Ricochet with, of course, Gunther in Imperium's corner. I did like Ricochet playing the mind games on Gunther and getting him ejected from ringside, even though it almost cost them. In the end, Braun Strowman and Ricochet get the win after Braun hits the monster bomb, and then Ricochet does a swanton bomb off of Braun Strowman's shoulders. I thought this match was a little bit disjointed, mainly because of the commercial break, but the action was pretty solid, and I liked the finish, even though it looked like Ludwig Kaiser got killed on that power bomb.
Well, it was pretty rough. I don't think, it's like anything else. Some teams mesh and some teams don't. These teams don't mesh because Ross Stroheim, people have trouble because he's trying to play the big man role, which is one of the hardest roles to play because you're limited. You can only do so much. And if he went out there and had these two much smaller guys beat him down, that hurts him. It doesn't even help the team beating him down. It hurts him. That's what that's why he's in there, so he can take the punishment. Yeah, I didn't like the way it was laid out. Decent match though. I mean, we can pick it to death, but I would say out of a 10, I'm gonna be like Dave Meltzer. Okay, if it was in Tokyo, I'd give it a 9. It was in Tokyo, but since it's not in Tokyo, I'll give it like a 4 or 5.
All right. Well, we do have a super chat donation here from Raleigh Curtis, who says, why do you guys, thank you so much for the super chat donation. He says, why do you guys and fans describe Zayn's actions at the Rumble as Sami turning on the Bloodline? Roman smacked Sami. Sami hit Roman with the chair and started to apologize to the J. Baby faces don't betray. I mean, he did. Roman's always been this domineering type of person, and Sami hesitated when Roman gave him the orders. So Roman was just trying to motivate Sami by mushing him in the face. That's Roman's way of leading. Then Sami made a choice to turn against the Bloodline. That's why it was Sami who made the choice. It wasn't the Bloodline who made the first move. So that's why people are saying that Sami turned on the Bloodline. Don't you agree, Dutch?
Well, I wouldn't say it's turning. I would say getting even. Getting back. That's what he was doing. He didn't betray them as many times as, they were getting ready to really put the screws to him. That was the way the story was going. and he kind of beat him to it. Remember, we talked about that, Sid. Should they turn on him or should he turn on them? But in either case, it's going to get us to the same spot.
Yeah.
And that's a spot where they're feeling sorry for Sami still. See, Sami, if he'd have went in there and beat him up and sent him scurrying, it's not really believable. Because that was 3 of them. And of course the Roman, they should have beat the crap out of him. But they got to keep the sympathy on him to make the fans buy him. And they're buying him enough already. But all of a sudden, they're going to turn him from this guy who couldn't win a match 6 weeks ago to this giant killer and this Kingslayer. You know, if the people think about that, they go, because the people will believe till you give them a reason to disbelieve, and I wouldn't believe that. What's his name? Roland?
Yes.
Roland?
Thank you.
Roland, that was a betrayal, you writing us this too, buddy. He turned his back on us and stabbed us right in the back.
They had this right in the back saying that you guys.
You guys.
What do you mean, you guys?
Oh, how much did he donate? $10.
$10.
Take that back, Roland. $9.99. Okay.
Lisa saying, finally found you. Hi, Dutch and Sid. Have you changed channels? Yes, we are over on Wrestle Binge by Sportskeeda Wrestling, our new home. How do you like our new home, Dutch?
Oh, I love it. I hadn't been there yet, but I love the new home. So,
see, this is why I like Roland. He could take a joke. He's just laughing in the chat to us.
He better laugh. Just me and Sid track you down one night and you're getting in your car and just beat the crap out of you and bullwhip you. And then what kind of gimmick you got? Why don't you just take a spatula and just beat him around the head and face with it?
I used to work at a bakery, so I'm used to I can work a spatula. Yeah, I can use the spatula as a weapon.
Okay, so continue on.
But yeah, that means that after the opener with Braun and Ricochet winning, they've won the tournament. So now they get a shot at the tag team titles. So what do you say? Do you think Jay shows up for Jimmy, or do you think maybe Solo or maybe even Roman takes the place of Jay in the tag team match next week?
I would say if Roman took the spot, they would have to make him take the spot. I think Solo would be the one. And I think they beat, of course, Ricochet and Bro, whatever they call him. They will beat them and they'll continue on. Now they have a whole week to think about this. And that's their hot angle, the Usos and Roman. So they're going to be very careful in what they put them in. Because the wrong thing, you won't kill them, but you'll take a little steam off of them. They got that steam to this level here, and don't let it drop down and start cooling, because it could drop lower, but I don't believe it will. Because I think once they got it hot, they're gonna keep it boiling. And it's actually fun to watch. This is a wrestling show that I like to watch, because now you can sit back and watch it and say, I think this guy's going to show up. I think this guy, they might go this way. But if there's nothing happening, you don't care. What you're thinking is, hell, let me turn off this damn TV and let me go somewhere else, something exciting. But SmackDown tonight, and for the last couple of weeks, I've said this, were some of the best programming they've done. I mean, they should win an award, really, because they have turned that thing completely upside down and around. And their ratings show that, right?
Yeah, I think this show is going to do another big rating. Last week did a huge rating for SmackDown on the Go Home show, and I think this week with the follow-up from the Royal Rumble being so hot of an angle with the Bloodline and this being the follow-up with Roman Reigns, I think it's going to do another big number. Well,
good show. I enjoyed watching it. And when I say I enjoyed watching a wrestling show, you know it's got to be good. I've seen 5,000 shows. Well, maybe not that many, but I've seen a lot. And some of them kept my attention. Even sometimes the ones I was on didn't capture my imagination. I would go and work my match, go take a shower, take my bag, I was gone.
He's like, I'm out
Somebody
of
next
here.
day could say, "Hey, did you see that main event?" I said, "Oh yeah, I saw it. I saw it. It's good. Wasn't it? Oh, great. Hell, that's 100 miles down the road. I didn't even know who
So,
was in the.
so you're saying you lied, Dutch? You lied to the people?
No, I'm misinformed. Is what I did.
Hmm.
That's
Oh,
different.
okay.
See,
Okay. Hmm.
it's the only way you word things. Not necessarily. When you say you lie, that really sounds bad. When somebody calls you a liar, misinformer is more the term I would use. Who sent it? Jason Bennett.
We got a good question here from Jason Bennett. He says, "Do you think that once Roman loses the titles, that's going to be the end of the bloodline?" Me myself, I do think. I think that the whole red herring of that is Solo Sikoa was not brought here by Roman Reigns. He was brought here by the elders. And I think the elders are watching Roman and how this whole bloodline seems like it's imploding. And I think once Roman loses the titles, they're going to pull the trigger on Solo attacking him and kicking him out of the bloodline. What do you think?
Sid, really, you need to get off that pipe. Really.
What I say?
Really. You think they're going to sacrifice Roman and the Usos? That's the hottest thing they got. Just because
I think once he loses the championship, how is he the leader of the bloodline still?
well, he may take some time off and come back, but I don't think they're going to drop that. If I was on creative and you was a member, I'd have to reach over and slap you. Even be thinking that. Let's don't even think that, guys, because
So you don't think Roman should lose the championships?
you'll make
Because that's the only way.
Say, what'd you say now?
So you don't think Roman's going to lose the championships?
No, he can lose the championship. I think he will lose the championship to Cody. I think he will. But now they want to kill that son of a bitch. They want to beat the living crap. And now now they've created enemies. Now they've created Sami. Now they've created Kevin Owens. They've created some other people that just hate the bloodline. And so that's 3 right there. And you got 3. So might as well keep that together and keep it running. Because look at the stories they can tell out of that. And they need to get
Dante agrees with me. Thank you, Dante.
Dante, you need to get off the pipe too, buddy. I think you guys are just way, way out there in space. Listen, when you got a quarterback that's hot, all of a sudden he loses the game. Oh, it's benching. They don't do that. They're gonna keep playing that son of a gun until his arm falls off. And the same way, they will keep this running. Or I hope they do. Unless if you put the bloodline up, that's a hell of a. You actually got 3 matches out of that. Gunther versus a hell of an opponent. You got the girls.
But if you want to get that Gunther versus Roman match, he has to turn babyface. Gunther's not going to be a babyface against Roman.
I didn't say anything about Gunther, and I may have said it in the past, but after WrestleMania,
who is Roman going to feud with? Not the champion, but still a heel. Who is he going to feud with? Just Cody again? We're going to run back WrestleMania rematches? I thought that wasn't going to be done in the Triple H era.
Well, listen, do I look like I'm on WWE Creative? I don't know what they're going to do.
Hey, they listen to you.
Know that Roman, right now, if he turned heel, if he turned babyface, he'd be the hottest babyface they got. Don't you think? But they don't have the heel in that spot yet. They don't have a heel that can absorb him yet. So we'll see.
That's why I think the bloodline is going to be the heel against him. The bloodline will turn on him. Solo, they're building up. They don't let him lose. They are building him up to be a future main event star. And I think that he can usurp Roman Reigns, and they'll transfer that heat of Roman Reigns onto Solo and turn Roman babyface. That's what I'm saying.
You're jumping too fast and too quick here.
I'm saying this is after he drops the title. Me myself, I don't even think he's gonna. I don't think he should lose to Cody at WrestleMania. I don't.
But I think he will.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, but I don't think that's the right decision
for a short turnaround. And Cody, when he wins, he says, "I'm not going to win it for me. Yeah, I'm going to win it for you." He's telling the fans, "I'm going to win it for you." But in winning it for you is like winning it for Dusty. Now they're bringing the past in. I think they got it clicking on all cylinders. So I don't think there's any way they can miss. And listen, if I can be obscure about it and not sure what they do, nobody else can either. But I am sure that I don't think Roman will be leaving. I don't think Usos will be moving over because those guys are hot. And the hotter he is as a heel means he's going to be hotter as a babyface. If they can find that heel. And who is that heel? We don't know yet.
I just gave you two options: Gunther, Solo Sikoa. There's a bunch of them, but we do have a super chat donation here from Roland Curtis trying to rewind us back to the current. No, and he asks, is KO Sammy versus the Usos for the titles a dead idea? No, we both have said that's the match at WrestleMania. That's the WrestleMania match.
Roland, see, he didn't even understand what we said. I think that would be the match at WrestleMania. Don't you think?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. No, I would like to see that match too because I think they'll burn it down. I think they'll burn that stadium completely down. And I think it would be a great match. I wouldn't pay, but I would actually like to see that match. Because when you get guys like that and they got that background, they're wanting to see it and they'll buy. You don't even have to plan that much. Just go in there and call it in the ring. I mean, you'll work out your stuff toward the end, but I think they'll have them standing up and begging for more. And that's exactly where you want them. That's where I would like to. That's where I kept.
Me and Roland on the same page, though. The Solo being brought in by the elders, that is a great plot point that I think they're going to come back around to. And that's why I think Solo will be responsible for he's going to be the one that facilitates Roman going babyface when this whole bloodline thing is over in this current form. I think it's going to keep going. I think it's going to still be the bloodline, but it's going to be Solo, the Usos, and maybe they can even add Naomi at that point as a heel. And bring a woman into this and spread out their wings a little bit. I think they can, further develop this bloodline.
Now, what you're saying, I don't say is a bad idea, but I think it's down the road.
You said you were going to smack me. How is that just not saying it's a bad idea?
I can still say it's a good idea, and I'm going to say, hey, have another idea.
You're gonna smack me. I'm gonna go to the hospital, and then 5 minutes later, you're gonna be like, you know what's a good idea? Solo turning on the Roman. I think I came up with that myself.
But what is just as good as having great matches is pacing. You got to pace it out.
Yeah.
And they have done such a good job with Sammy. 7 or 8 months. And that's old school timing. It just went on and on and on and on. And we've been expecting this, at least 3 months? That when Sammy, turns and somebody helps him. Now he's got people to help him. He's got Cody to help him. He's got Kevin Owens to help him. Now, if you want to get some more baby faces over, have them help. And that's how you get guys over. You get guys over by putting them in hot angles because they get over by osmosis, just being in the group. They're already there. That don't work every time, but it's every time that I've seen it used, it usually works. Now, when's the last time you saw, hey, it was just 6 or 7 months ago when they started this, that we were belaboring, you like that word, we were belaboring WWE for no bench strength. Nobody on the bench. Now, they seem to be loaded up. But that's because Triple H and that team, they've taken their time and done a great job. The thing about being on creative, and I hate being on creative like a group, is because when the territory's down, everybody is down on creative. They say, no, that creative, they suck. They suck. But when it's up, they don't say creative's on top of its game. They say, man, these guys are over. But see, the things they did, they don't get credit for. But when it's down, they get all the blame. But when it's up, the talent gets all the credit. It's not fair, but that's the way it is.
Talk like someone who's worked in creative.
I haven't seen a wrestler this hot. I have. I saw a guy Louisville, Kentucky, get gasoline on him and set him on fire. I believe that. He was pretty hot.
Let's move on. We get a promo in the back. Kayla Braxton interviewing Charlotte Flair. She's got a matchup with Sonya Deville. Despite that, we've already know she's going to be facing Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania after Rhea chose her on Monday Night Raw. But she says she's focused on Sonya. Sonya comes in, she insults the crowd, then says Hollywood needs a star like Sonya Deville, and Charlotte laughs at that. And then they end that segment. I mean, I know this was hyping the matchup, but it was kind of a useless segment, in my opinion. But it did lead into a good matchup with Sonya Deville versus Charlotte Flair. I thought Sonya Deville worked really hard, and she looked good in this matchup to really try to impress. In the end, though, she taps out to the figure 8. I mean, this was a heatless match. I said, like I said, I think that Sonya Deville had a hell of an effort to try to impress, but it went from her having zero chance of winning this match when they made it last week to negative 100% of her winning after they made Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte at WrestleMania.
Was it for the title tonight?
Yes.
Well, see, they should have canceled that because she can't have any of. Well, I guess on these house shows, she's going to have title matches. And I guess people said, well, if she loses, the winner would just take Charlotte's place in that match. But everybody knew that Sonya Deville wasn't going to win. But it was a pretty good match. Not bad. I've seen better. But it was passable for what it was. Do you think Charlotte Flair is the best wrestler in the world today?
Best wrestler in the world? No.
What Rick said.
He said Charlotte Flair is the best wrestler in the world?
Wrestler in the world right
now. No, I disagree.
I disagree too.
Okay.
I wish I'd have been there sitting in front of it. I said, you need to stop that drinking too. Because I know that's his daughter and all, but she's not that damn good. Anyway, continue.
We had one of my favorite segments of the night because it did make me chuckle. I think twice, but it felt very scripted. But it was still entertaining as we went to the NASCAR racetrack, the LA Coliseum, where Rey Mysterio and the New Day were doing a promotional tour, a photo shoot for the NASCAR event coming up this weekend. When the Judgment Day came in and interrupted. Judgment Day basically Dominic kind of insulting his dad. His dad Dominic saying that he wants to race his dad and beat him in the go-karts like they did back in the day. And he says, speaking of back in the day, Ray says he's gonna spank Dominic like he did when he was 3 years old. And then we get the NASCAR racers kind of giving them tips before they do the race. So it's Dominic versus Rey Mysterio in this NASCAR race. You got Finn Balor and Damian Priest on the sideline, as well as the New Day, and Rey Mysterio beats Dominic. The best line of this whole thing was Dominic in the lead and kept going in front of Rey and kept saying, "Oh, I learned that from my cellmate who was an ex-getaway driver." Dominic has been money as ex-con Dom, but
I didn't hear that. That is a good line. So.
But he gets beat in the end by Rey. After the race, Dominic throws his helmet, says that this wouldn't have happened if mommy was around, and they are separated by the rest of the people involved. But this was a nice little out of the arena, out of the ring type of segment.
Well, we have a lot of families breaking up on SmackDown.
Yes, we do.
Breaking up. Then you had the Usos and Roman breaking up. So now this
is why I kind of tend to feel like this whole Mysterio breakup should happen on Raw to separate there's too much families breaking up on one show.
Well, sometimes you'll find that two angles are kind of like another angle because the same people are putting them together. But I did like the racetrack deal, and that racetrack is very, very small. It's inside a football stadium. So they can't get really fast because they'll just fly off into the crowd. You ever been to a NASCAR race?
No, I've never been.
Woo. In the summertime, well, it's nothing but drinking, people passing out. Because it's 100 degrees out there in the south, and the cars are loud. But it's actually a fun time. And when they start the season of NASCAR, see, NASCAR smartened up too. Now they have a season and they keep points. And I don't know exactly how it works, but toward the end of the season, I don't know if you're a racing fan, and I didn't used to be a racing fan, but I am now, kind of, because that is impressive to see those cars at 180, 190 miles an hour coming around the corner.
Question for you, Dutch. How many black people you seen at a NASCAR race?
Oh, they a lot of black people.
Oh, I didn't know. I've never seen one.
Your family. It's a family out there.
Oh, okay.
And you may consider it like a southern white sport, but it's not. There are a lot of black people out there.
Okay.
Believe me.
I'd stand corrected. That was my only question, because I've never been into it. Just me, I guess.
Well, you need to go.
I will try it. I will try it once. I still need to go to an NFL game. There's plenty of stuff I got to check off the bucket list.
Oh yeah. Well, I just want to set you straight on that. But I used to have a guy that was Afro-American. He was a huge, huge racing fan. And he would go Darlington. It was down in South Carolina, Darlington. He would go to Daytona, Atlanta.
One of my friends from the South actually has told me that he's been to a NASCAR race. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, but let's get back into SmackDown. We had another tag team match later on in the night. The Brawling Brutes, Butch and Ridge Holland, going up against the Viking Raiders. The Brawling Brutes trying to get revenge for the Banger Bros after getting jumped last week by the Viking Raiders. This was a good little matchup. It went about just less than like 9 minutes. Perfectly acceptable matchup with the Viking Raiders getting the win. I do love how they got Butch, like they deadlift Butch from the ground into the Ragnarok for the win here. So Viking Raiders looking strong. After the match, though, you got Drew McIntyre and Sheamus coming out. They brawl with Eric and Ivar, continuing this little rivalry here. What did you think about this one?
Oh, I liked the match. I just didn't like the end that much. I think those guys leave with a little bit of attention, not the heat or steam. And then here they come. Here come Sheamus and McIntyre, and kind of take it off of them. They take the shine off of them. I think maybe the exchange or something, and one picks up something and the guys back away. But they gave them a full blown ass kicking out there. So I think what you had built in the match, you kind of relinquished in the afterbirth of it. My opinion.
That's a fair assessment. We do also get then a recap of the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match, which you can see on the channel. Me and Dutch's thoughts on that match from the Royal Rumble. And then we see Bray Wyatt is in the back in his rocking chair. He says nothing. He's about to look at the camera, but then Uncle Howdy steps in and they do a jump scare where Uncle Howdy's face comes into the camera and it's like, boom. Some people were scared by this. I literally yawned.
I went to sleep. I mean, it says on the marquee wrestling. Now, I know what they're trying to do, trying to get attention on Bray in this new direction he's got. But it's absolutely doing nothing for me, really. Because you got to go in there and wrestle sometime. I'm amazed that it really hasn't killed LA Knight. But it hasn't. He's actually gotten over this.
Yeah.
Which was a big, big difference between when he debuted Models on Parade or whatever it was, Maximum Male Model. And I used to say he was dead on arrival. He's made a magnificent comeback, not only him, but him being with Bray. Bray's helped him a lot. But if they keep this up, I don't know what they're going to do. I think they're trying to work a deal with Undertaker, I think. And I don't know what that could be, and I don't even know. But that doesn't even interest me anymore. I mean, Undertaker it's two gimmicks. Howdy is going to come in. They're going to be fired and this, and I don't know.
Well, it seems now that Bray and Uncle Howdy are aligned with one another. They're no longer feuding with one another. They're now aligned together.
I don't get it. I just don't.
I'm not that pitch black match, man. It's totally put me down on Bray right now. They got to do something to recover this.
It was sponsored by Mountain Dew, though. That's good.
Yes, it was. Just as was. And then we're gonna get another sponsorship match at WrestleMania. Are you excited for that, Dutch?
What's this sponsorship match?
I don't know. I heard Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Well, that's good. But I did read that they're going to monetize everything with sponsors, the mat, the covers, this, things in the arenas, which is a good idea.
Yep.
I mean, the Mountain Dew, it got a lot of a. What if you're watching a match and they say Mountain Dew, whatever match, and you think, well, damn, I want a Mountain Dew right now, and give it a lot of publicity.
One of my friends chugged a whole Pitch Black Mountain Dew during the Pitch Black match.
Well, they could do. I don't know. They could do a lot of things with that.
You remember my friend Jeremy? I think he did like the first ever podcast we did together. He was on it with us.
I do remember him.
Yeah,
I hated him. No,
I'm clipping this, and I'm showing him it.
no, I liked him. I do remember him. So.
I got the timestamp. It was at the 50-minute mark that Dutch said he hates Jeremy.
All right.
All right.
Anyway, I think they need to give Mr. Bray a little more, some teeth, because you can only gimmick this so much before they've almost run out now, I think. I don't know.
It does seem like that because I thought the direction was they were going to do Bray versus Uncle Howdy at WrestleMania, but now they're aligned. I don't know if he's going to turn on him again. It's just it's very convoluted now.
Yeah, well, it's very convoluted, and I don't know what they could do right now. Now they can surprise me, but who is Uncle Howdy?
Yeah, it's Bo Dallas, Bray's brother.
That's who I thought it was. Are you sure of that?
That's been confirmed by the sheets, but I know you don't believe all the sheets.
Well, what if it was Vince? That would shock people. That would
be very shocking if Vince took a dive off a stand at Royal Rumble. That would be very interesting.
No, it's not him. It's not him now. But when they
eventually, he's like it's like he was the higher power. He's only the higher power. It was me, Bray. It was me, Bray, all along.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. All
right. The final match from SmackDown, you had a fatal 4-way to determine the 5th person in the Women's Elimination Chamber coming up at the pay-per-view on February 18th. You had Shotzi, Natalya, Zelina Vega, and Shayna Baszler. I like all of these ladies, but this was another kind of disjointed matchup. It didn't have a lot of heat. This crowd wasn't really into it, but it was clean as far as the execution, mainly because they had Natalya and Shayna Baszler in there for a lot of it, and Natalya got the win with the sharpshooter on Zelina Vega. She moves on, joining Asuka, Liv Morgan, Nikki Cross, and Raquel Rodriguez in the Elimination Chamber, and the final spot will be determined on Raw when it's Candice LeRae versus Mia Yim versus Piper Niven versus Carmella this Monday on Raw. So what did you think about this 4-way, the final match here?
Well, I'm glad they had Natalya in there. She kind of kept it. It was already disjointed, but she kind of kept it together. So they need her. And will I watch that match Monday? If I did watch Raw, I'd probably turn that one off because that doesn't interest me at all. Because they don't really have a story other than a spot in where's the
Elimination Chamber.
Well, that doesn't do it for me. So again, personal angles like Roman and the Usos and Sami have, that's what people are interested in. But that just filling a spot here and filling a spot there, and I don't think that grabs people. I just don't. It don't grab me. What's Stephen Chambers saying?
He's happy that Natalya won, and he says hoping Piper Niven gets in on Raw.
I do too. I like that girl because she doesn't look like the other girls. And I think, is she a heel or babyface? She's a babyface, right?
Piper Niven, I guess she's a babyface now that she's back to her former name that she dropped the Dewdrop moniker.
Yeah, but see, this is like.
Or are you talking about Natalya? Natalya's now a babyface too. Yeah.
Okay, but Piper, with her being a little overweight, let's say, I don't want to say she's fat, course, you can't say that anymore anyway, or you get canceled, I guess. But
They'll probably find a way to edit you in a way that made you say that.
they better not. They will better not. I will fly to India, and I will I'll choke him out. No, but it is the. I'm looking at Amazon or some of it, and they got women's apparel. Oh, fat women all over the place, heavy girls. Because let's face it, a lot of girls are heavy, a lot of guys are heavy too, like me. But you know, a girl that's a little heavy, she gets sick and tired of looking, the shapes like that because she does this, and I think the girls that are heavy spend more money than the girls that are not, and that's what they're going for. I find nothing wrong with it myself anyway. It's just society's way of saying what you should look like. And not everybody can look like that. Believe me, I don't care if you work out, well, if you work out 24 hours a day, you might look like that. But who has it? Some people have to have jobs to pay to pay their bills. But I like her because I think she would have a lot of fans.
To let Chris know, he says Piper Niven is her real name. That's what I heard is what her name was in Insane Championship Wrestling. That's actually both wrong. Her real name is not Piper Niven. It's actually Kimberly Benson, and her name in Insane Championship Wrestling was Viper, not Piper. And we got a super chat donation from the good brother Rollin Curtis once again. He says, I agree. KO Sammy versus the Usos is hot, but when will we get an old-fashioned Brett Owen, Matt Jeff, bro versus bro, Jimmy versus Jay 4-month story angle for a mid-card title? Each twin may have singles aspirations.
Good question. Let me get my calendar out here. Let me see. What month is it now?
Map this out for him. Map this out for him.
When is WrestleMania?
On April 1st and 2nd.
Oh, I think we'll get that probably midsummer. I'll say July 23rd. I'm just saying. But they are, and that's an angle they could work. And again, it's an angle they could work and be believable if they did it right. I don't think one brother would go in there and beat the crap out of the other brother. I don't think the people will buy that. But
this whole bloodline angle has really gave them separate personalities where it's not out of the realm of possibility that this can't happen now.
No, it's not. And Solo, by them keeping him quiet on purpose and making him a killer, will pay off for them.
And that's why he should be the one that turns on Roman. Thank you, Dutch, making my point again.
I'm just what I'm here for. They called me this week from my headquarters and they say, try to help Sid out a little bit. I said, okay, I'm doing the best I can. I said, I'm agree with him as much as I can. But what I'm saying is they have so many ways they can go now. It kind of books itself. But this is when you have to really be patient because you could burn these angles like this if you wanted to throw them out there. Yeah, you'd hit a hot run, but then what are you going to do?
It's all about pacing. You're right.
Think just to the next show. They think past the next show. You know, they started thinking about WrestleMania back last November. But of course, it all changed when Vince left and Triple H come in. The whole line of reasoning and what they had in their head, it all changed. I bet he told them, whatever plans you think we had, throw them away. We're starting from scratch, which is a good place to start from. I took over the book Puerto Rico one time. They said, all right, now, they asked me when I took it over, they said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, what you guys got going? They said, well, we got this and this and this and this. I said, all right, throw that away. They said, what do you mean throw it away? I says, is it drawing now? They said, no. I said, good. Made my point. Throw it away. We're starting new. And we threw it away and we did great business. I started like I'd never seen one of their shows.
Well, Dutch, we're almost an hour in. Let's run through this Rampage episode. They kicked off.
I'll run through it for you.
I know you were asleep. They kicked off with the AEW World Trios Championship up for grabs, as it was the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Ethan Page, Matt Hardy, and Isaiah Cassidy. Matt Hardy's just seemed kind of off in this one, but everybody else I thought was really good.
It's because he's old.
Yeah.
His
Yeah,
feet
he
up here,
he tried to wrestle with Kenny Omega, and it was just like Kenny Omega's he's so fast, and Matt Hardy could not keep up.
you know, you hell, I'm old too, I know. But when it gets to the point where it's obvious, just see, they had him in a manager's role, correct? Now
For a
they
while there, yeah.
and they try to put him back in the ring, but that's one of the worst things they could have done, because now he exposes him to people who really don't even understand the wrestling business. They just know that he doesn't fit with these younger guys, and he doesn't. So
I do like the whole dynamic with him and Ethan Page, because Ethan Page just knows how to get heat from these fans, like him breaking up Matt's signature offense, taking away the twist of fate when Matt wants to do the hey and then the elbow drop. Ethan Page comes in and does it himself and then gets super kick. He plays a very great douchebag heel. But this match, the highlight of this match, in my opinion, was Isaiah Cassidy and Nick Jackson selling their asses off. The way that Isaiah Cassidy was selling those super kicks and he would just melt. He was like, and Nick Jackson with the twist of fate when he did a complete headstand. Did you catch that? When he did the headstand?
I don't know how they do that. See, I like those guys, except it's super kick city.
It is.
They threw at least 10, 15 super kicks.
I counted 6. I counted 6 super kicks.
Like 15, but a lot more. Sometimes less is more, but they do it good. They do it great, but they do it too much. But it's not my place to tell them. It's my opinion.
But I think this is the perfect type of match that they want to open Rampage with, because it kept my attention, because it was nonstop action and it kept me awake at the very least when it gets that late at 10 o'clock.
Well, it's probably the opening match, because it had some star value to it, and you'll stay and watch it.
Yeah.
So you want your best match, not your best match, but one of your best matches that you know people will stay with. You put it in the first match, even on house shows, even on live events. You want that first match to burn them out, and then now you restart and you build to your main event.
But I do like this the story that they did tell with basically Ethan Page was like kind of the catalyst of his team's demise, because he has a massive ego. He wants all the glory and he makes everything about himself. So when him and Matt do a miscue and Matt hits him, he makes Matt get out of the ring and check on him, which leaves Isaiah Cassidy on his own. He takes the one wing angel and a 3-way triple BTE trigger for the Elite to retain the AEW World Trios Championship. And that sets up the Elite versus AR Fox in Top Flight this Wednesday on Dynamite. So there was a story in this match.
I'll be there at Dynamite. When's it on?
That is on Wednesday. But speaking of Dynamite, I want to give you a plug. I did a plug for Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards, Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards. We'll talk more about that at the end of the show. But I want to give a plug for you, because you had an AEW star on your podcast this week, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Mr. Jake Hager. It used to be Jack Swagger. Oh, it's a great interview. I rode up down the road with him more times. Great interview. I did another podcast that nobody ever heard. I've had him on before, but he's such an interesting guy to talk to. And we used to have some tremendous conversations going down the road. One night we were leaving a town, and I told Jack was on about third. I had just got there, and I was ready to go. And he come out, he'd already taken a shower, and I said, "You ready to go?" He said, "Oh, we can't go yet." I said, "What do you mean we can't go yet?" He says, "They want us to stay around to the main event." I said, "Oh, screw that. I'm not staying around." And I had the car. I said, "I'm going to tell you one thing, Jack. I'm leaving in 5 minutes. You're in the car. You can go with me. If you don't, I'll see you tomorrow night." And he grabbed his bag and we left. And I said, if they say something about you leaving, tell them to talk to me, and I will tell them you will learn more riding with me in 10 minutes that you can watching the rest of this card the rest of the night, because he's just going to see the other stuff he saw the night before, the night before. I said, let me tell you how this business is and what to do. And he got up and he said, well, okay. And guess what they said? What? 0. Because if Vince would come up to me and said, we'd like him to say, I said, well, I'm just saying that I think he'd learn more from me than he can watching these guys night after night after night till eternity. And what's he going to do? He'd have to agree. And he said, well, yeah, probably. And we left early ever since then. Can you imagine? It's a long trip anyway. And you're on third, and you come back, and you take your shower, and you get your bag, and then sitting down. And you got another hour and a half there, and you got to watch that. God, I couldn't do it. So he got in the car, and he thanked me later. He said, yeah, well, I appreciate you setting that precedent because they've said nothing about it. And I said, they're not going to say nothing about it, believe me. Because Vince respected me, not because of my great athletic ability, but the fact that I made it as long as I did in the wrestling business. So he's an old timer, I'm an old timer, and there was some mutual respect there, and that's why he wouldn't say anything. It was in Vince. I got along with Vince, but I always remembered that he was the boss, and whatever he said, okay, we'll do. He's the one who signs the checks, so.
Gotta listen to that. We had 2 backstage segments. First one was with Lexi Nair interviewing Ricky Starks. He says that he kind of put his foot in his mouth, saying that he would do anything to face Chris Jericho again. So now he has to do the gauntlet on Wednesday, but he's looking to prove why he is absolute, and he promises to beat Chris Jericho again. We then get, after commercial break, Team Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. They're happy with what they did to Danhausen and Best Friends. And then we get Danhausen with Scooby-Doo like music in the background, vowing that what happened to them last week won't happen again. Danhausen says that they hit him with a Grammy, and then Chuck has to explain to him that it's a Golden Globe. Danhausen, I love Danhausen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's good. But I didn't see it last week for some reason. But Danhausen, I'm gonna watch him because he's stupid good.
Yeah.
And he's different. You could beat that guy till the cows come home, people still love him. Because he appeals to the kids. Hell, he appeals to me. So, and he's over. And he does a good interview. And you can the heels can get heat by beating on him. So, and I do like Jeff busting a guitar over his head. It was hilarious. See, he said he won a Grammy, and they said it was a Golden Globe.
He said they hit me with a Grammy, and he's like, no, it was actually a Golden Globe. He's like,
So, what shows was he on?
He was on Rampage last week. They did a 6-man tag.
A talk show that he was on too.
Oh, they had Paul Walter Hauser. He's the one that won the Golden Globe, but it was Jared and Lethal and Sanjay. They stole the Golden Globe from him, and now they've been walking around with it. But he was on the talk show, the Late Show with James Gordon.
Yeah, okay. They showed a shot in there of a guy and a girl, a lady, sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
What was that?
That was the Late Show.
Okay, I see. They in the show.
Yes.
Okay.
Next we had.
I'm glad you smartened me up to that. I said,
this is what I'm here for. This is what we're here for, folks. We had Swerve Strickland versus Brian Pillman Jr. This was just basically a showcase for Swerve Strickland, who just exudes like heel swagger when he comes out, and especially with his thugs behind him. The thugs cause a distraction to Brian Pillman. This allows Swerve to hit a Death Valley driver on the apron, and then he follows up with the Swerve Stomp off the top rope for the win. This was more of like a slow down, definitely different from the opener where this was more technically driven.
Wait a minute, are both those guys from Cincinnati?
No, Brian Pillman Jr. is from Cincinnati.
Okay. Well, I think they could have really done a little more with that match than they did. Here's my theory. Who's the kid that lost? What's the name?
Brian Pillman Jr.
Jr. He was losing.
Yeah.
I think he kind of tanked it a little bit. Guys would do that because he's at home. He don't want to lose. He don't say that, but he goes out. And, I could be wrong, but they've done it to me. Have I done it to anybody?
Have you?
Swear, I never have.
Slipped your
Because
mind.
I never had a town. I never worked in my hometown. But I would not go out there and on purpose tank a match. I mean, I didn't have to tank a match. I could be working hard and it would tank on its own. See what I mean?
Very, very well said, Dutch. We had after the match, Mogul affiliates continue to jump on Brian Pillman, and then Dustin Rhodes comes out with a turnbuckle to run them off, continuing the rivalry that got set up last week between Dustin and Swerve. Then we had a quick little House of Black segment, I believe, at this point, where House of Black basically tell Eddie Kingston, after Eddie Kingston done turned on his best friend, done said that he will accept the House of Black. Now Malachi Black says, no, he just wanted to prove that people are human and people will betray their best friend and their brother. They don't really want Eddie Kingston. I thought this was awesome. I was like, they basically made him turn on his best friend and now saying, no, we don't even want you. We just wanted to prove a point.
So you understood that?
Yes.
Well, I didn't. So I'm glad you explained it to me. Because the House of Black gimmick, I don't quite get it. Because they're not really heels. They're kind of baby faces too. They work one style, and I've seen them do nothing that really gets steam on them. I mean, if I had a team like that and I was depending on them, it's hard to get steam on them. Because sure. I think regular mom and pop America, they attract a certain, Malachi Black attracts a certain fan, but the ordinary fan, I don't think he really hits them unless he's got heat on him, and they really haven't got heat on him. So I think they need to work on him a little more.
Well, an act that does have heat in AEW is Tony Storm and Saraya. They had a match here with the Renegade Twins. Tony Storm and Saraya just seem like they're so much more comfortable as heels, and they definitely got a bunch of heat in this matchup, totally destroying the Renegade Twins. They win with a thrust kick into the Storm Zero. What did you think about this women's match here?
Well, I thought for most of the match, the other girl never tagged in. What's her name?
The other Renegade Twin, yeah.
He was out except for the finish. They beat that one girl half to death. And finally, she made the tag. I said, thank God. Get in there and let's go home. But I think they could take, if they really, really want to concentrate on those two, Saraya and Tony Storm, get a lot of heat on those two. A lot of heat. That Tony Storm's a beautiful girl. Beautiful girl.
But she seems so much better as a heel here. It's like she seems like she's much more comfortable. She's been one of the best signings for AEW as far as the women's division. We should also know after the matchup, they have been considered the AEW outsiders. So they pull an outsider move after the matchup. They pull out spray cans and they spray paint L's on their opponents because they're losers.
I wondered what that was. I couldn't even read it. Was it upside down or what? I said, I don't know. Was it half a T? I couldn't figure it out. But then when she did that, I got it. So, but I think they need to concentrate on those two. I think there's a little money there.
Yeah. I do think that they should keep focusing on that AEW outsiders versus homegrown. We should also note what Donna says. Adam Cole had a training video as well as a promo saying that he's not sure who his first opponent's going to be, but he's getting ready. He's getting back into in-ring shape. She does ask, but where is Kyle O'Reilly? He's currently injured. He had a serious neck injury where he's having a slow recovery, so he's still getting back into health. But I'm glad Adam Cole is back and and that they're building up to his first in-ring matchup too.
So Adam Cole started training again, right?
Yeah, because he suffered a concussion last summer.
Couldn't tell it by looking at him. He looked like he looked like Hot Dog King standing there.
Jesus, Dutch.
I'm dying for him just to walk by a gym. Just walk by it and look in there and say, "Oh, the guy's doing some squats and some curls. Oh, yeah, yeah," and he walk away. Listen, if you say you're going to work it out.
Can't take you nowhere, Dutch.
I guess not, but he's not a big guy anyway, but actually I was embarrassed for him, really. He's been working out, and that's the result you've been getting.
Well, before Dutch gets us in any more trouble,
I would cancel my gym membership immediately.
We had the main event with two former ROH world champions. You had Roosh versus Christopher Daniels. Christopher Daniels got some close near falls using distractions from Jose, the assistant, and Preston Vance, who tried to get involved throughout this matchup. But in the end, Roosh hits a belly-to-belly suplex into the corner. He hits the bull's horns, and he gets the win. Roosh going to go one-on-one with Bryan Danielson, the final obstacle for Bryan Danielson to overcome before he gets a shot at the AEW World Championship against MJF at Revolution. So this was to heat up Roosh before that big matchup on Wednesday.
Well, they heated him up all right. He was on fire when he left that ring. Hey, I respect AEW. I respect everything they do, but I don't enjoy it as much as you do. So, what's the announcer's name? Henry. What's his first name?
Mark Henry.
Mark Henry. He was, to me, he was the star of the show.
It's time for the main event.
It's time. It's in the whole crowd right there with him. So, but anyway, that's the show.
That is the show. One last thing that I wanted to touch on before we sign off here, Dutch. We should highlight this comment. This week, we lost another legend in the wrestling business, Lanny Poffo, the formerly known as the Genius in his WWF days, well renowned for his, speaking ability, how smart he was, and of course, he is the brother of the late great Macho Man Randy Savage. So, our thoughts, condolences to the friends, family, and fans of Lanny Poffo. But any thoughts, any memories that you have with this legend?
I knew Lanny from like the first month he was in the business. I'd only been in like a year or two, and then I was in Atlanta, and the Poffos came in, and Randy too for a short time. It was like the fall of the year because Randy was through playing minor league baseball, and I met Lanny there, and good guy. He was a little off, but he was funny, and I really enjoyed being around the guy. I really did. And somebody called me the other day and they said, "Have you heard about Lanny Poffo?" I said, "What?" They said, "He passed away." I went. And they said he was living in a Central American country. And have you heard that?
No.
Like Costa Rica. And you can go down to Central America and live on $2,000 a month. I mean, they said, well, and they said, and Lanny saved the first dollar he ever made because Angelo saved his money. Randy was tighter than a clam. You couldn't get 35 cents out of him. But those Poffo boys, they saved their money. So when he went down, if he was living in a South American country, he was living well. Because he probably had $1 million because he didn't spend any money. See, Randy, when he would go on the road with Miss Elizabeth, they would rent the smallest car or the cheapest car they could rent. And they wouldn't stay in dump hotels, but they stay in a cheap hotel. And it was two of them. Both of them were drawing a salary. So that's why they ended up with so much money. And Angelo played the stock market too. So they saved their money and they were well off. But more power to him. He told me one time how to make money, and I said, yeah, but now how to save money. I said, yeah, but isn't one of the one of the prerequisites of saving money is making some? He said, yeah, that would help. I said, well, I'm not making any right now, so I'm not saving a lot. But
Uh,
I was really saddened about Lanny because he was a really good guy.
Well, like I said before, thoughts, prayers, condolences to Lanny and his family, the Poffo family, any fans, or anyone affected by his death. Of course, our thoughts and prayers to you. And happy birthday to Steve in the chat. He's 51 today. I tried my best to highlight as many comments today. You guys have been great in the live chat. We were back for the live show for the first time. So, Sportskeeda bosses, don't kill me for talking so long, but do kill me because I'm going to promote the Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards, the Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards, the Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards. It's coming up, guys. We are in the month of February. Things are going to be popping up. You're going to see more and more news about the Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards. But for Dutch Mantell, it is me, your trio phenom, SP3. This has been Smack Talk. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we will see you next Friday right here with Rick. Peace, y'all.